Good evening. I'd like to call to order the March meeting of the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees. And to begin this evening, we'll go around and introduce ourselves, and if we care to, share a book that we are reading. Chris, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I'm Chris Hall. I came into the library, and for the life of me, I can't remember. It's a mystery of this house, but I can't remember what it's called, so I'm sorry. But I am reading a book.
I just finished, I'm Kari Essery, and I just finished the book Shark Heart by Emily Haybeck, and it's my book club is reading, recommended by 20-somethings. So we're trying to read what's hip.
My name is Jamie Burkhart, and I am reading Radium Girls.
I'm Greer Carson. I'm rereading Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said by Philip K. Dick, and my family is playing Hogwarts Legacy on the PS5.
Chris Harrison, and I just finished reading The Sky Over Rebecca, which I believe was by Tim Fox, if I'm not mistaken. And then I'm listening to Hidden Truths, and I'm not sure who the author of that one is. It's a young person's book.
I'm reading The Eyes in the Impossible by Dave Edgars. It's the new Barry Award winner this year, and I was drawn to it because the cover is wooden. It's really cool. It's called The Eyes in the Impossible. It won the Newbery. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Nice. I'm Amy O'Shaughnessy. I'm new to the board today. I just finished rereading Homegoing by Jessie and Truth and Beauty by Ann Patchett, which was one of the only books of hers that I hadn't read. And I just started Leaving by Roxana Barry Robinson. I've never read anything by her before, but there was a really fascinating New York Times review on it, so checking that out.
Welcome you to the board, so we're glad to have you among us. Okay. So tonight we'll begin with our consent agenda items. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items that consist of the minutes of the February board meeting, the monthly financial report, monthly bills for payment, the personnel report, and the board meeting calendar?
So moved.
Any questions or comments about the minutes? Or about the consent agenda items? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next, we're going to turn to Greer and our monthly director's report.
Okay, a few highlights from the director's report this month. What a great start to the year in terms of overall collection use. This is some of the strongest circulation numbers we've seen since just prior to the pandemic. Our digital collection use in particular is up quite a bit compared to previous years, in part due to the great work being done by our content development department to expand and refine our collection of digital resources, and thanks to our communications and marketing team for their strategic promotion of our digital collections. And thanks also to all of our public services staff for guiding and referring patrons to these resources to supplement physical collection use, and in many cases actually replace physical collection use. We have no shortage of digital library users now in 2024. Our Southwest staff have been out in the community reconnecting with Southwest patrons at schools for literacy events and helping out in various departments downtown and at Ellettsville. We have a new position in our Building Services and Security Department, that of the lead security technician. This position provides additional and daily training and support for our security staff, specific to patron behavior policy adherence and incident report writing. And it will provide valuable input on some of the trends in behavior and incident issues, which could inform some policy change proposals we'll consider later this year. We've been thinking of a position like this for some time as one of several ways we're looking to address some of the behaviors we have here at the downtown library, and this directly supports our third strategic goal of ensuring safe and welcoming facilities. HealthNet started their street medicine clinic last month, and will be on site the first and third Wednesdays of every month with basic health care and referral services for our homeless population in particular. You may recall that we invited HealthNet representatives to a board meeting back in 2022 to talk about what they could provide if we were to partner with them, and we will have them back for an update later this year. Thank you to Elizabeth Gray and our adult services team for managing this partnership. We will be moving to a new human resources information system around the start of Q3. We have been with UKG since 2017, have come to understand that we need a different kind of HRIS solution to better suit our operational needs. We're finishing the review right now of alternative products, and next month we will share our plans to migrate to a new system with an anticipated go-live date of July 1. We hosted the 2024 Indiana Library Federation's Youth Services Conference for a tour of the downtown library just recently on Sunday, March 10th. This was a pre-conference event for attendees. We had a healthy 30-plus people join us for the tour. And just a reminder to everybody that we will be closed for the Eclipse Day on Monday, April 8th, along with many peer organizations in our community and beyond Monroe County. We will have security on site that day, however, to monitor activities near our buildings and to ensure that our windows, doors, and rooftop areas aren't being used inappropriately. And like everyone else, we're looking forward to a very exciting and unique cosmic event, the grandeur of which should bring people together for a wonderful community experience. Happy to answer any questions about the director's report.
I'm very excited about the HealthNet, that it's beginning, and how is it being advertised? Or how is word getting out to people about it?
I don't know for sure what our advertising is for that, but I will find out and get it back to you.
And then my other question was, where is it being hosted in the library?
Where is it? Josh, can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's in 2B.
Okay, upstairs.
And sometimes 214.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Well, I will say you did answer one of my questions as to why you were standing out by the bookmobile on Sunday morning with a whole bunch of people. We drove by to go to breakfast. I was like, what are they doing out there? But that answers that question.
And showing off our brand-new van and, of course, the bookmobile itself, and just talking about outreach services in general. And it was kind of exciting to have a group of peers from other libraries see our library and talk so much about our facilities and our programs and our staffing model, you know, with, I don't want to say envy, but certainly a degree of appreciation. It was certainly worth it, yeah.
Was there a particular highlight?
I'm not sure, but I got a lot of questions about our staffing model, our compensation plan, and our number of programs, and how we try to diversify our programs. So it was easy to bring the strategic plan into the conversation and all of that, yeah.
Ask a question as the newbie. Is the 7,000 items that were deleted from the collection, can you just speak to what seems like
Sure.
a very regular sort of course of business, but can you tell me a bit more about that?
Certainly. So every month we do ongoing weeding, and that's what we call sort of maintenance level weeding, where we identify items that haven't circulated after a certain amount of time, or that we sometimes call them grubbies, but they're materials that have just been worn down so quickly, sometimes as quickly as within 18 months. It's usually in children's where we see that, and we just pull those items. Other times we do really aggressive weeding if a collection is taking up too much space in the stacks. And so I would say maybe like a third to half of that number is maintenance weeding. The other half is often digital items that get pulled from subscription services like Hoopla or Canopy or Cloud Library or Overdrive that have records in our ILS that we don't really control. We just import them. And what happens is when those items go out of those services, either because the licensing agreement expires through Hoopla or whatever it might be, then those records get deleted on our end as well. And so every now and then you'll see, oh, we added 5,000 items, but we deleted 10,000. It doesn't mean we deleted 10,000 physical items. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Greer? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our old business, where we have no action items, but we will receive first a update on the Southwest Branch closure.
Okay, so as we reported last month, all of the mitigation work is done. That was the overall assessment of the damage, the removal of the damaged materials, the removal of the standing water and all of the related moisture, and preparing the floors and the walls for restoration. We did this through a company called Blue Moose, who we work with a lot. They were incredibly responsive in their efforts. Our insurance provider paid Blue Moose directly to do the mitigation work, And when we got the okay from insurance, the deductible for that work went straight to Blue Moose. So if you noticed a $10,000 check in the finance report, that went straight to Blue Moose. That's our deductible. So we got through that. As we also shared last month, we had just gotten word from insurance that the subrogation was complete, and that the restoration work could begin, and we got a check for about $200,000 to begin ordering and installing new flooring throughout most of the building and to rebuild the interior walls and outlets affected by the flooding. And we have engaged Core Restoration to do this work. They are currently locating all of the specific flooring products that we're interested in and giving us estimated lead times on those orders. That lead time is ultimately going to determine what our reopening date is, because that's the biggest work, the most work that has to be done in the building. We expect to get that answer within the next few weeks, but as I understand it, that is a very laborious process of going through every item in the claim and saying the equivalent product is this. If we can't order the same LVP for the flooring, we'll have to get something else. Here are the manufacturers and the retailers that will provide it. Here's their estimated lead time. So all of that coming together to give us an answer to what is the reopening date is taking a lot of time. On top of that, while we're reviewing the ordering of materials, our insurance provider wants to conduct an additional investigation specific to just the HVAC system, which of course was the cause of the failure and the flood. And they want to look at the HVAC system one more time with all parties present and all of the related mechanicals before they determine the official cause of the actuator failure and the responsible party involved. And so this last investigation meeting will not take place until April 23rd. Our hope is that that work, or the subsequent work after the investigation of the HVAC system, may be able to continue while we continue our plans for reopening, so that the HVAC work, the investigation, and then the decision about the claim does not necessarily impact our reopening timeline. That is our hope. We are not going to know that for sure until we get to that April 23rd meeting. So due to the number of parties involved, and there are quite a few, the sensitivity surrounding potential responsibility and the many related restoration costs, we have just not been able to commit to a reopening date yet. And as much as we'd like to, and certainly as much as our patrons deserve to know when their branch is going to reopen, we simply can't set a date without risking having to then turn around and modify it again when we get additional information. So we're grateful to everyone in the community and for our partners for their continued patience as we work through the investigation and repair work. We will be doing an interview with the Herald Times next Wednesday for an upcoming article on the flood and the subsequent damage at Southwest, and it will include pictures of the damaged floor and the damaged walls. We don't want to do pictures of the restoration work because then that gets into OSHA concerns for the contractor and so on. So we're going to be doing that interview next week. And we have made what I think we're calling quiet progress in terms of working with insurance and all of the subcontractors. I know it doesn't look like it from a public perspective, but this is the arduous process of going through a massive claim like this for a building like this. So happy to answer any questions about Southwest.
So we're responsible for the $10,000 deductible. Is
Correct.
there any chance through litigation or through cause that we will get that back?
I do not know. I don't have
Okay.
an answer for that. We can
You may
we
not
can
know
ask, yeah.
until a long time.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if there's a
Yeah.
possibility of that, though.
I will not say no, but I can't answer,
You
so
won't
I will
say
find
yes.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Since it's such a new building.
Yeah.
It seems, anyway, yeah.
And my question kind of dovetails on that with the idea that the instigator of the problem was the HVAC system, correct? Correct. And the HVAC system is installed by a contractor, correct? Yes. So it would seem like they would need to be, and I'm sure they're involved, but wouldn't they be liable for the deductible?
That is part of what they're
They're-
meeting about,
okay.
to determine the responsible party and then who's responsible for what portion of the cost.
And my
Yeah.
second question is, now that this has happened, what kind of assurances or guarantee going forward, if we're using the same HVAC system and the same contractors, that this won't happen again.
Right, and so that is our biggest goal out of
Yeah.
all of this, apart from getting through the insurance and the money and all, and the time and all of that, is to get in writing an official recommendation for changes we might need to make to ensure this never happens again. We've kicked around ideas with the contractors, with insurance, but we need an official, this was the cause, this is the responsible party, and this is what you do to make sure it doesn't happen again. So all of that will be a part of that HVAC investigation and decision.
So basically, right now, we don't know the conclusion of what faulty part it was, faulty installation. We don't know where it caused the problem,
We
right?
don't know, for example, if it was a manufacturing issue or an installation issue,
Okay.
and therefore a warranty issue, or if it was what people would deem an act of God, and, this isn't supposed to happen, but it does, and so there isn't a clear responsible party. We don't know that yet.
Ugh, okay.
And obviously, when you find out, you'll report it to the board
Absolutely, yeah.
and the public, and yes.
We've been very intentionally not putting a lot of information out to the public about what's coming because we don't have anything to share. And our feeling is the more we say, sorry, it's still being worked on, the more frustrated people are going to get. We also understand that the inverse of that is that not hearing anything for weeks on end can frustrate people too because they just want something. So doing the Herald Times article, and they had reached out to us to ask if we'd be willing to do this, we thought, okay, well, that's going to help with that because then people can see pictures of the significant amount of damage, and we can answer some of these things that we talk about in our meetings, and that can go out in an article, and maybe that'll help a little bit. And hopefully, somewhat shortly after that, we'll be able to come back together and go, now we're comfortable setting a reopening date, and then we can do a reopening campaign and everything else.
Have you thought about using like the community radio station, WHFB, I think, to kind of communicate what's going on, what the progress is, or what the intentions are coming and what happened? So, not only using print media, but using some kind of, limestone post or something like that.
We have not thought about specific media outlets, but we can certainly talk about that, yeah.
And I'm guessing the Herald Times article should go on the Facebook page.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll take anything like
Yeah.
that and post it and push it
Good.
out, yeah.
Okay.
So I know we weren't planning on like a 6-month close.
Right.
And when we first talked about this, we talked about, staff and putting them in other roles. How are we doing with that? And because this has ended up a little bit longer than anticipated.
It is, and so one of the first things we did when we reassigned staff was make sure that they had workspaces at the downtown library that they could be in somewhat indefinitely, just because we didn't know how long this would take. So that's worked out very well. And they're super engaged in doing this kind of work in other departments, downtown and at Ellettsville, going out into the community, all of that. But at the end of the day, they are very, very anxious about getting down to Southwest. So it's sort of a cloud that hangs over some heads. And that is completely understandable. But they're good where they are right now, and there's no timeline on, hey, you got to get out of that office or anything. They're set up and they're doing their work. Yeah.
Some after-school programs for the school that's right near Southwest, and are those still being facilitated by the library, but in an alternate space? Can you talk about that?
I don't know about specific after-school programs. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, there have been in-school programs. Our teen librarian, Kate Long, has been going and doing actually during the school day programs. After school is a little trickier because most of those kids are picked up. So we've been, working with the school itself.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Greer about Southwest? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to an update on the board packet proposed change and some employment data information from Becky Throckmorton.
So I know we talked last month about some stats that we're going to update in the board packet. You'll see page 97 has those updated charts. And And I've put in the 2024 numbers are January and February, so that's why those bars are a little bit lower than anything else, because it's still missing that third quarter, but I wanted you guys to see what that looks like. So this is the quarterly wages paid, quarterly hours paid, and the average head count. And these charts would replace what comes in the personnel report, which is page 85 in the board packet right now. And then the pieces that come after this, page 98. Sorry, I can pause. Do you have questions on that chart and replacing what's in the current? Okay. Page 98 has a staffing table. So this is kind of a running table as we go through the year. I'll continue to fill this out each month with our head count, the number of internal job changes that we've got, the number of folks that are hired, resignations and retirements, and then the number of open positions that we have posted each month. And this will give us our turnover rates and our vacancy rates on an ongoing basis. So we can look at that monthly, quarterly, annually, kind of whatever cadence you guys would like to have that, but I can keep this up and running. And then I also have what I shared last time that has the 2023 numbers in it. The only thing it doesn't have is the vacancy rate because I didn't track that last year. And so we can continue to look at this and continue to track these numbers. Questions on that? Okay.
Please go ahead.
I was going to say, and then I've got the hours paid was one of the things that we had talked about last time. And so I pulled the expected hours. So this is based on the staff that we have and the number of hours that they're scheduled to work. So that doesn't mean that they're necessarily scheduled to work those hours. It's if you're a 25-hour employee, we expect that there's 50 hours in a 2-week pay period. Full-time folks are 75 hours. So that's where those expected numbers come from. And then the actual hours paid is what we've actually paid out on pay stubs. So that would be work hours, personal time, sick leave, anything like that. And I don't know if these are helpful numbers for you guys to look at. I don't know if it's meaningful to see these numbers on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, or an annual basis. But this is data that I've got easily available as well. And then the other piece that's in here, it continues on to page 99, is the department breakdowns. So this is something we had talked about last time, and I'm happy to do this. I think it makes sense to look at on an annual basis. But this is each department. So the departments are alphabetical. There's no rhyme or reason to why they're in the order that they're in other than alphabetical by department. But it has the department, the head count for that department, and then the breakdown of the actual positions that are in that department and the number of folks in each job title or job position. So it starts with administration, which is admittedly pretty unique position. So each of those is one person in that position. But if you look at like adult services and building services and security, you'll see there are, like in adult services, we have 5 librarians and 11 library assistants. And so you can see the makeup of each department. Is that helpful? Okay.
And I appreciate seeing that on an annual basis.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
To have biannually, just like twice a year?
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering if there's changes that happen, versus winter, winter time versus summertime kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just to kind of compare to see, does it remain steady? Does it ebb and flow?
That's a good question because this doesn't represent vacancies, correct? This represents positions in the department.
Correct.
So I
These
don't
are-
think that will change. Am I?
It
reading that
shouldn't
correctly?
change very much. So our employment is pretty steady. You might remember from last month, the number of positions that we hire and turnover rates are pretty low. And so these numbers do stay pretty consistent, but I'm happy to pull this on twice a year if we want to look at it, maybe beginning of the year and mid-year.
At least maybe just,
Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding. So these positions, like adult services, like we don't have 17 positions that we keep filled. Like that could change.
It might change if we had somebody who left and we haven't filled the position yet. There might be one less person on payroll.
Okay, so this isn't how many positions we currently provide at the library.
This is how many positions
Are
were on
filled.
payroll that were filled.
So I misunderstood.
So they're not like It's,
I
a lot of those are
understand.
librarians,
Okay.
library assistant, and sometimes we're fully staffed and
So
sometimes
this,
we're not.
this would change, so thank you, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just
yeah.
like, wondering, again, if there's more turnover around the time in the fall when the students start back, whether there's more additions to the staff, more
Yeah.
people that leave kind of thing. So that's what, I mean, and maybe it's, we look at it a couple years biannually and realize, there's really not much change and we just go to doing it annually. So I guess I'm thinking since it's new, maybe just initially doing it twice a year,
Yeah, of course, I can do that.
just to see some comparisons.
Yeah. The other change that we can do to give you guys more insights into this as well is the per employee, like the employee earnings report per pay date. It starts on page 76 of the packet. That's currently sorted by the number of hours that someone works and then by their last name. We could sort that so that it's by unit is department and then job is the job title. So we could sort that so that it's by department and job title as well, so that you could see the insights into that and see what changes from a payroll to payroll standpoint. And that'd be a really easy change for us to make. I don't know if you all look every month to see how many people are in each, because currently it's totaled on the report that you guys get. It's got the number of people in each hour status. So the number of 15 to 18-hour material handlers and material processors, and then our 20-hour, 25, and 37.5-hour. So I don't know if you guys are looking at that data when those reports come out, but we could do it by department and then total up the departments on a paycheck by paycheck for head count.
The question I have is why do we have their names? We are not involved in that information, are we?
Our employees' information is publicly available through the
Okay.
DLGF gateway.
Mhm.
What we don't do is put the actual wages in the public
Okay.
packet, just
Yeah.
as a matter of discretion, but the names we list, I don't know how long we've been doing that, though.
Do we need to do that is the question.
It's worth looking into, yeah.
Yeah, I can look into that and see. I
Yeah.
thought that it was a State Board of Accounts
Okay.
requirement, but I'll look into that and see if
All
we
right,
need to
that'd be
have
good
it.
to find out if it is a mandate from the state, yeah.
Do you have a preference on how this is sorted? Would it be helpful to have it by department?
By the type of job it is, the way it is.
Okay.
I kind of look to see, when I'm looking at materials handlers, or, they're all kind of, I guess, just looking at how they're working compared to the number of hours they're employed for. So having them kind of grouped together to see, everyone's, working about, but here's a few that are a little over what they usually work. So I'm assume, if they're, I guess, on there for 50 hours, and maybe some people have worked like 52 or 53, is that just to kind of, is that counterbalanced by somebody who worked 46 or 47, and seeing kind of those trends?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm happy with it the way it is, but that's just my opinion.
Well, that's how I use it too when I look at it, is to see where the hours are. So
Yeah.
if you like to have it that way, I'll leave it and we won't change that. But know that we can modify that if you guys decide you'd like that. And then the last thing that I had from our last discussion was the demographics. So there was kind of a request for some demographic insight. That one is taking me a little bit more time to kind of figure out what we want to look at and how we want to pull those numbers. And so that will be coming. And I'm working a little bit on what is meaningful and what's helpful for us to show and talk about with regards to the staff demographics. So, yeah. Any questions? Anything else you guys would like to see that's not in here? No? Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Our plan is to switch to this format starting with the April packet, and that would be the beginning of the next quarter, so, yeah.
Do you guys want to see the, like that staffing table that's in there, the second page? Do you want to see that on a monthly basis, or do you prefer quarterly, annually? Do you have a preference? Oh, I'm sorry, page 98. That first table there that's got head count, turnover, vacancy rates.
Don't have a preference.
Okay. We'll start with quarterly then, and then if you decide that it's too much information in there, we can always go to something different. Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we move on to new business. Again, we have no action items in this area, but we'll start with the annual report review from Greer.
Okay, so the annual report is required of all Indiana public libraries. It's administered by the Indiana State Library, and it captures quantifiable pieces of library service such as registered patrons, circulation, collection holdings, programs offered and attended, employees and their positions, facilities and finances, and other data points that sort of evolve from year to year. Our 2023 annual report is included in the packet this month, and we'd like to highlight a few worthy data points. For example, we circulated just under 1.5 million physical items last year and over 600,000 digital items, with an additional 340,000 digital resource retrievals. So that's like database usage and e-periodical usage and so on, for a grand total of just under 2.4 million items borrowed in 2023. That's across all physical and digital collections that we provide. We lent 5,548 items to patrons from other libraries via interlibrary loan, and we borrowed 4,476 items from other libraries for our patrons via interlibrary loan. And that ratio has been consistent for a pretty long time. We generally lend a little bit more than we borrow through interlibrary loan. 27,000 patrons attended one of 1,500 library programs offered last year, including on-site in-person, off-site in-person, and asynchronous or web-based programs and attendance. We had an estimated 584,000 visits to our 4 public service points, so that's here downtown, our Ellettsville branch, our Southwest branch, and our outreach services vehicles. We offered just under 100 digital collection resources, such as Canopy, Hoopla, Overdrive eBooks, and many, many more. So overall, it was a pretty strong year for MCPL in terms of collection use and programming, and this is what the annual report pretty much looks like every single year. The State Library will modify a few questions depending on what's going on in the wider world or what's going on in library world, but more or less this is the format it always takes, and we do it every January and submit it by March 1st. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the annual report.
Do they ever comment about it?
Yeah, sometimes we get feedback.
Okay.
They'll ask follow-up questions.
Okay.
So one of the functions of the report is they have notes fields, and you can have local notes for yourself so you can track from year to year, hey, this number is pretty different, and the state library isn't going to care, but we do, so we put a local note in. The federal notes are the ones that the state library sees, and we flag those anytime there's a big change in a number. So we had a number of those this year just because Southwest opened and sort of patronage changed, door counts changed, stuff like that. A lot of times they'll have follow-up questions about collection use, collection spending. There's a lot of info in the report on how much money we spend on our collections. But generally, they're always very, very positive conversations. It's rare that a library gets a, hey, you didn't do this right, or what are you doing, or anything like that. So it really is a tool that I think the state library uses, and then we, as participants, as Indiana Public Libraries, can look at peer library data and figure out what everybody's doing.
And we get no funding from the state at all?
The state library approves a lot of our operations.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, not direct funding from the state library. Yeah.
Questions or comments for Greer regarding the annual report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Greer again with the strategic plan updates.
Okay, so our 2024-26 strategic plan focuses on 5 key goals, which cover collection development, intellectual freedom initiatives, programming strategies, facilities improvements and safety measures, community partnerships, and a continuation of our commitment to being one of the best employers in the region. The real work in realizing our strategic goals comes down to department-specific strategic action items. Each department develops a set of action items for each of the 5 goals listed in the plan, and then reports on progress made throughout the year. A lot of this work is ongoing work, and it fits within our service model such that it's sort of daily, weekly, monthly work that kind of shows up in the director's report under the different goals, and that's why we structure the report that way. But some of the really specific projects don't necessarily fit within the director's report, either because they're long range in nature or because they're very back of the house and therefore indirectly support our public service model. So we'd like to share some of those projects and their progress here, admittedly only at the end of the first quarter of the first year of this plan. So there's not a ton, but we have some stuff in the works. So under goal number 1, which is facilitate and support intellectual freedom for all patrons through proactive and responsive collection development strategies, MCPL has joined the Indiana Library Federation's Freedom to Read initiative, which gives us updates on the lobbying and advocacy efforts on the part of the ILF, as well as intellectual freedom materials and resources to help our own community better understand the importance of this principle of literacy and library service. Vital is working to refine its collection development tools by transitioning to a new literacy database called Literacy Nimbus, a system which provides a vastly improved reporting tool to support those Vital tutors and their learners. Content development and circulation services are working together to consolidate, condense, and relocate a number of collections based on goals for improved accessibility and visibility. They've also launched a small yet worthy Blu-ray film collection. For our cinephiles, really, we have power users that are crazy about our movie collection. A lot of them like to use Canopy and some other film-centric streaming platforms, and so this small collection is going to supplement that. And Ellettsville is working with content development to conduct a thorough and comprehensive review of its collection, which will eventually result in some similar consolidation and the addition of new collections that are specific to Ellettsville patron needs. Under goal number 2, promote and support literacy, learning, and digital equity through programming and services. Adult Services continues to expand their programming for the emerging adult age group, which now includes an adult Lego club and some in-house board game programs and similar programs like that we've observed are very popular with teens, and as you move into the emerging adult audience, you don't necessarily stop wanting to do those things, so they're trying to expand and provide that stuff for that age group. Vital is working across departments to develop a digital literacy and equity committee to design new programs and services that address the digital divide for Vital learners and their families. Children's is incorporating more STEAM challenges into their programming and plans to have a tween tech hour and introduction to 3D printing as part of their summer reading program beginning in May. They're partnering with the Boys and Girls Club and a local skate shop to help up to 12 children build their own skateboards. And Children's is developing multiple online reading challenges using Beanstack, which is what we use for reading challenges online, including 500 books before middle school, which is in some ways a response to family requests for more reading challenges after people successfully complete 1,000 books before kindergarten. Ellettsville has started new STEAM programs for children's and teens and has purchased a Cry-Cut Maker 3, as well as a set of Sphero Bolt robots. And soon, we're going to launch both a new online room reservation system, which you'll hear a bit about here in a second, and a new online catalog interface, which will dramatically improve the discovery experience for patrons, particularly those looking for a title in multiple formats, and those who want a quick and easy way to check the availability of an item and to then place a hold on that item, which is sort of the bread and butter of most people using our online catalog, and this new catalog is a much improved user interface. Under Goal 3, which is to improve and maintain welcoming, safe, and secure facilities for patrons of all backgrounds and experiences, we're planning for public elevator replacement as well as public bathroom renovations here downtown. We have hired the lead security technician, as I mentioned before, and will soon begin reviewing and possibly updating our patron behavior policy. And we'll be looking at a new incident report management system later this year with the goal of implementing that system in 2025. Under Goal 4, to identify and cultivate new partnerships in order to create community connections and expand the library's reach, Our Outreach Services Department is working with communications and marketing to develop some new marketing strategies to promote outreach service points to targeted audiences. Our program coordinator, Dana Duffy, is working closely with our Friends group on their Power of Words, Armstrong exhibit, and the Coffee with Friends committees so that library programming standards and Friends promotion and advocacy work can combine to make for truly outstanding Friends program offerings. In administration, we're expanding our reach to area youth-serving agencies, schools, and homeschool families to cultivate a wider range of partners and working with current community partners such as IU on expanding our internship program. And we've recently implemented a new volunteer management database, which helps us better manage the program and improve promotion of volunteer opportunities at the library. And finally, under Goal 5, which is to ensure excellent public service by investing in competitive staff retention and development strategies to become an employer of choice among peer organizations. As we recently reported, we just launched our new staff development and learning opportunities budget and approval process. We are hiring for a learning and development coordinator to work with staff and their managers on setting job-specific as well as career advancement goals for professional development and to connect these efforts to individual performance management plans. We're soliciting additional staff input on options for flexible and possibly hybrid work options, as this was one of the top requests that came from staff as part of the 2022 compensation study survey. And as we shared in January of 2023 during the presentation for the new compensation plan, we're committed to iterative reviews and updates to that new plan, and we will be working with our compensation consultants on additional review items later this year. So even though it's early in the strategic plan, we're off to a pretty good start. There are a lot of other strategic action items departments are working on that I didn't include just for brevity's sake, but I'm happy to answer any questions about our progress with the strategic plan. Thank you.
Very impressive start to the year.
And, it's fair to say, I think we mentioned this when we were first sharing the draft of the strategic plan, most of our public library strategic plans are just sort of an encapsulation of the work that we do anyway. But what's useful about it is it kind of frames it in a way that we can say, all right, these are the major things we're focusing on, and these are the things we would do anyway that actually inform those goals. And so it helps create a narrative for ourselves to track our progress, and it helps create the public narrative about there's a lot more going on at the library than what you may see when you come in to grab items or interface with staff. And so it's a very useful sort of framing tool.
Okay. Well, thank you, Greer, for that update. Next, we're going to move on to Josh Wolf, who's going to give us an update on the room reservation and program calendar.
Thank you. So our current enterprise platform for managing meeting rooms and library programs, basically what you look at when you open our program calendar or go to reserve a meeting room, is called Events, and it's set to fold up shop this summer. Its parent company, Demco's, decided to no longer support it. Just as a little background, MCPL subscribed to this platform in 2005, which doesn't really seem like that long ago, but it was our first electronic platform. Some of us remember writing everybody's names and phone numbers down in a spiral binder. And the night before story time, we'd call every one of them to remind them that this program was happening. So this has been like a career-spanning platform for a lot of us. And I'm standing before you today feeling my age. So as part of the review process, we collected user stories from an advisory committee of 12 staff members who are basically very closely involved in program planning, in meeting room management, and we also put a smaller lightning team together of about 5 people. We looked closely at these 4 different platforms that roughly covered the same territory, but in pretty much different ways. We looked at Vega, which is managed by Polaris and which we're going to use as a discovery system. And Polaris is our own integrated library system. So there's some obvious benefits to going with the product made by a company we already use for our library catalog. But their rooms management software is very new. They're still developing a lot of the pieces that we need. And it was a friendly look, and they kind of admitted that to us. So we loved the convenience of that idea and then moved on. We also looked at a platform put out by Library Market called Library Calendar, and a platform called LibCal, which was put out by SpringShare. LibCal was kind of a finalist for us because they had a tremendous amount of customization that you could do and some sort of parallel modules that you could use for scheduling. But frankly, they also required quite a bit of customization, and we were worried that, one, it might confuse our patrons, but also that it might not make for a very smooth transition. So we went with a product called Communico, which is an industry leader. Many of our peer libraries used it, so we were able to talk to other libraries, even in our own backyard. Johnson County uses it. They provide an excellent level of customer service, and it's been great during the implementation phase. We also felt that it would be the most immediately intuitive for our patrons. So beginning April 1st, when you get onto our website and look at our calendar, I can show you a secret version of it right now. Maybe. We've had a few technical difficulties. Oh, there we are. There I am. Let's hide that. Ooh. There are no events because it doesn't start until April 1st. So when you log in, you can go to over here, there's calendar and list view. If you go to the calendar view, move it over. These are our April programs that are planned. You can click if you just want to see any day, get a list of them. It's quite nice. The communications and marketing's graphics are all on there, and it has the community events as well that people book the room for. And you can filter it very nicely. So if you want to just have the teens, downtown, you can look at that. And there they are. They're doing a lot in April, just downtown. You can also look at it in a list view, and one of your choices is just what's happening today, but you could put in a date range. Do that. Now let's go April, because there's not much in for March, except some of our tests. And there they are. And so there in that you also get all of these, you get the artwork right there. Click on that and you get their basic program description, the option to register. You can add it to your personal calendar if you want right away. The event types are in there and we have tags. And then if you scroll down, it has hours and the location and even a link to maps and other things that are coming up. So we really liked that. You can also, if you close that tab up, if you're just interested in a certain type of program, like the eclipse that comes up, you can just do those. Although, yeah, this is just downtown and teen still, so I'll clear out my filter. Do my eclipse search again. And there you go. So you can have age specific, you can have, and you can search age, not just teen and children's. If you look at the filters, we have specific children's and tween, so the different ones in there as well. And those are all there. So that's basically how our calendar function will work. We will, of course, still be producing our paper calendars that you can take home and hang on your fridge, and quarter sheets and other flyers like that. Also, the room reservation system has gotten much simpler. Let me back this one up a bit. When you first log on, you've just got book of your room or view events. If you go to book a room, it asks you what you are, your three choices: community group, which is probably 95% of what we do, and then individual, that's our study rooms and meeting rooms, which you can book automatically right away up to a week in advance, thanks to the reservable spaces policy you guys just approved. So you go to that, community-based, and you've got you pick your date, let's say next week, or later this week. And you just go right down. AB combo, it shows when it's taken. You just click what you want. It automatically usually puts up a setup time on either side. It's telling me it had to go 3 days in advance because that's how the policy reads. So let's look at another day. Just go right in like that. And a neat feature of it is you've got your room description here. This is the room that we're in. You can go down and instead of just booking it, you can add it to your basket. And it's sort of like a cart ad, but then if you want to do a series and you know, okay, I want it that Friday and I want it the following Friday too, you go right in and do the same thing. Meeting room AB combo. Oh, that one's at Southwest. That one's not going to be available for a little while. You want the following Friday maybe down here. Boop. No, that's hard too. And add it to your basket. And then you go up to the top. There's your room basket. You've got all these dates. And then you click reserve yourself. And then you enter your regular information just like you would before. That'll go to admin. They'll look and approve your request. Another nice feature of this is if you know your library number and PIN, if you add that in, it'll autofill this. It pulls it right from Polaris, from our ILS, which is convenient. So we're going live on April 1st. We've got our programs entered for the summer, and they've diligently moved all the bookings in for the next 90 days. So we're very excited, but it's also one of those strange moments where we're kind of going to close our eyes and hit the button. We'll still have eVanced on the back end as sort of a safety net for a little while. I don't think DEMCO officially shuts it down until August. Yes?
About booking the individual rooms, which I've made a lot of use of this semester. Currently, there's not a way, like it doesn't link to your cart. You can't go back and you can't see your reservations. You have to search in your box for your email. Does this system change that? Like, can you see it if you've logged in?
It won't unless you re-enter. If you just re-enter your library card each time, it'll autofill all that. But it won't save it doesn't save your information on the platform itself. It won't autofill that.
Well,
Yeah.
no, what I was wondering is like, is there a way if I'm logging into a library account, can I see reservations I've made?
Oh.
Because currently you can't.
Like you see holds.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you will get is you'll get an email.
So, okay,
It will
same
automatically confirm that in your
Okay.
email. Yeah, we played around with that too.
Okay.
But it doesn't, I don't think it has a standard sort of list of bookings. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah,
We're still playing around with some of those finer details. Yeah.
Okay, I just wondered because that
Yeah,
was
I'll take a look.
that was a feature I'm missing right now that I would.
Okay,
And
okay.
that could be one of the benefits of going with, the Polaris Vega option just because it's part of our ILS, so the integration is baked into the product. But as Josh said, it's just so new. We just felt it was too risky to go with that, so, yeah.
But will it, if Jamie were to log into her account here, would she be able to see a listing of all of the rooms that she's reserved, let's say for the next 60 days? Is that saved within this system's login?
I'm not sure. I am meeting with the rep tomorrow morning, though, so I could ask about that. It wouldn't be, if you logged into your library account on our website, no, I don't think it will. But there may be a way to look at those outside of the context that you're getting sent as you make them by logging into Reserve itself.
Calendar very easily would help me not lose that email.
Yes.
I had a question about the calendar and how many days out, or how many months? You said that you can, when this opens on April 1st, you can see all through the summer?
The programs you can see, you'll be able to see through July.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. The reservations that the patrons make, those only go out 90 days.
Okay, that's still
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Yeah, and we varied that over time as we sort of tweak our marketing cycles and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, you should be able to see that. That should go out. The other thing you'll be able to do with this is you'll have an option as you're reserving a room whether or not you want your event to be added to the calendar or shadowed. So if you're really trying to get people excited to come to your Eclipse program that you're going to do on your own, it will be on there. But if you don't want anybody to know what you're doing, that's okay too. That sounded wrong. I'm sorry, Greer.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, our final item is the conflict of interest forms. So every year, the members of the board are invited to fill out this form if they feel that for some reason they themselves or one of their members of their family might have a conflict of interest that would result in financial compensation on behalf of the library. So, if for some reason, for example, you have a spouse who works for a contractor that has been hired by the library, something along those lines, that you feel like might be a problem, we just invite you to stop by to see Greer or Lorraine for this form, and you can fill that out and have it on file for a year, but again, it's not required, it's just optional if you think that might be a problem. So just keep that in mind if you feel that you would like to fill that out. Any questions about that? Okay. Next, we'll move on to department updates. So we're going to hear about teen services from Sam Ott, our teen services manager. So come on up, Sam.
I was also having technical issues, so we'll see if this works. Josh, that's your laptop. We had to do a big switcheroo.
All right, man. There you go.
All right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we've been up to over the last year, and I'm going to try to get through it in about 4 minutes, so this isn't going to cover everything, and if you have any questions, definitely just let me know. So overall, we had a very, very busy year that started in June. When Greer was at ALA, he found out that when we had submitted for the Overdrive Adventure Never Ends with some of our RPG programming, we actually got third. And Greer found that out that day and was looking at people like, wait, we submitted for this? Is that what happened? Which is really exciting. So I didn't know that happened, and we had an award, and we got some RPG materials from Wizards of the Coast that we then made available to our kids as prizes for coming to programs and other things, which is really exciting. We also had an interview with WFIU where Alex Chambers put out a podcast called The Teens Are Accomplished and Splendid, which is a phrase that one of my kids said in the interview that he did with the teens. So he took that and made that the title of the podcast, which I thought was really cool. It is hyperlinked there, and I think this presentation is shared with all of you. It's only the first, I think, about 5 to 10 minutes of the podcast, and then the rest is devoted to a slam poetry fest. But it is actual teens that use our space and come to our programs. Some of them are there almost every day. So it's just a really nice little snippet of what they're doing in the space. Myself and teen librarian Claire Spence also participated in Bloomington High School North's senior project night, and we're also going to be doing that again in April, and we got to sit and be panelists for that program. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that, but they present on the internships that they've done at various community agencies throughout the year, and then we rate them on like presentation quality, the writing quality, and stuff like that as they prepare to graduate. And it's always a really fun event, and we're always very happy to go. We also, in 2023, started keeping small amounts of packaged food because we noticed a lot more food insecurity amongst our kids and a really large uptick in the use of the vending machine. So I'm sure the Staff Association is sad because we did cut down on that. But we wanted to provide more meaningful food other than just like chips and candy. So we have small amounts of things like ramen or mac and cheese or like Quaker Oats bars and things available that kids can ask for. We do ask that they not abuse it, and so far that's never been an issue, which is really, really nice. And we try to spread our money by going to places like Sam's Club or other things like that and just buying in bulk. But most of the kids now come in and they ask, a group of them ask almost every day because they haven't eaten since 11:30 or something like that, and they're not going to eat again until 6:30 or 8 when they get home. So it's been really nice to be able to see that and know that we're really making a difference and helping them cut down on the amount of money that they're spending, which is great.
Would they eat fresh fruit?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, yeah.
Yes,
like you have
we
microwaves in
provide,
that
we have a
space.
microwave in our space as well as a electric hot water kettle. So we also provide tea and other stuff like that. So the kids can either use the hot water kettle or the microwave to make that food. But all the food we buy is based on using those two products. I wish they would eat fresh fruit. We've provided it, some of them will eat it, but overall it just kind of sits there. Yeah. Yeah, and then we've also started setting aside a larger portion of our budget to purchase things like pizza or cookies from places like Insomnia or Baked for programming, just to really provide more of a dent for those kids when they come to events. And then we always over-order the pizza to then set out the extra in the space after school, so any kids that didn't participate might be more enticed to come, because then the pizza would be hot. But cold pizza is also good, so it doesn't really matter which they go for. We've been using some of that money, which has been great. Josh was actually able to work last year to get us an increase in our budget to help pay for that, and Kate and Josh Wolf actually worked to get the Psi grant, where we're going to be using some of that to actually purchase more food, both for Ellettsville Southwest and downtown, to supplement that. But if we see it go as quickly as we expect, we're going to apply for a larger portion of that grant next year as well.
Food drive for the teen program? Like, I'd be happy to contribute a bunch of stuff.
That is a great idea, and I will make a note to talk to Greer about that later. Thank you, Greer, for writing that down. I don't have a pen. And then the last thing that we've really focused on this year is improvements to the physical space, because Greer and I met with Brian Leibacher, and a lot of our furniture was original to the space in 2015, and it had seen a lot of love and use, but a lot of it was time to go. It couldn't be cleaned or salvaged. And so we've been slowly updating that, which has made a real difference to the kids, and they have been really vocal about that they want different pieces of furniture, more table space, and so we've been trying to accommodate that as we do those types of updates. And it's been really nice to see them also using it, and like using spaces that weren't being used at all because the furniture wasn't useful for them, or they just didn't like the way it looked. I don't know. So it's just been very cool to see that. And Greer's noticed that when he's come through the space as well, just that increase in use in like that couch we got rid of that nobody likes to use. It was originally green. It was not green anymore. No. And these are my staff. I get a new photo every year. They hate it. I give them a week's heads up, and then they still complain. But I wanted you to see their faces because they're the ones that make all this happen, and I'm incredibly honored to be their manager and support the work that they do, because without them, I wouldn't have anything to talk to you about. So they do everything that is fun and amazing in the space, and I just want to make sure you knew who they are. The big uptick we've seen in 2023 is a huge demand for RPG programming, so role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, and we've moved to the point where we're offering now 6 or more sessions a month. That can sometimes go up to 10 sessions a month, and we're also seeing a lot of interest in teens who've been coming for 3 years now, want to run their own games for the teens that come here, and so the librarians are partnering with them to build the game, build the system, work with them on that, and then sit in and help them lead it so that they have that security blanket there, but then they can also experiment with their friends in a really safe environment, and then we can also coach them afterwards on hey, this happened, that happened, let's make that a little bit better. And Laura and Claire are actually putting a presentation together and have submitted to present on how we've done that to Gen Con this year, so we're hoping to be able to present at Trade Day about how this model has worked, because we've had 6 of those so far in 2023, and each one has had between 10 and 15 kids show up for it, and then 2 kids keep asking at the end of each session to come and do their own session, and they're currently working on their own world building. Some kids have gone so far that they make an entire multi-tiered Google folder system that has 15 character archetypes that they've done original art for and everything to ask us to print out. So it's really becoming this massive immersive world, which is really exciting to see. And we're also seeing a demand for not just one-off events, but long-form storytelling. So we started offering some events like that where it's a smaller number of kids, maybe just 4 or 5 that register, and they're going to be on a multi-month or even a year-long campaign together as a group. And then there's still other events that they can come to. And then in October, we led a whole bunch of programs. Laura and Claire especially were instrumental in this, and it welcomed a bunch of new and old players in. But the big event that I thought was really exciting, we were able to get 2 of the publishers of some RPG systems through a connection I have in town. I have a buddy who is a game developer, and he came and presented on some of the work that he has done, but then he also knows the person that wrote and developed the Shadowdark RPG system, and she came and spoke along with the person that developed the Uncaged Goddesses module, which is a really famous module for 5th edition that was done by all female creators using a bunch of different mythologies and religions to create that system, and they came and spoke to the teens and answered questions about that, and we had 8 kids show up for that, and at the end, the presenter presenters emailed us and said how impressed they were with the questions, how glad they were to be there, and how excited they are that this is the future of RPGs. And the kids were also overwhelmed that they got to talk to the people that made the systems that they're playing, which is not something a lot of kids get an opportunity to do, especially for free. Sessions like that would be extremely expensive at a conference. So it was really awesome to be able to provide that opportunity. And then we were also able to secure a public performance license with Crunchyroll last year, which is one of the main providers for anime right now. And so now we can show all of that and advertise specific programs throughout the year, which is really great because before we just had to say that we were showing something, whereas now we've been able to entice a lot more kids into the program by showing different things throughout every month. Or just if it's an evening where a kid wants to put something on, we can log into that account and stream it in the space, which has been really nice. After-hours programs continue to be incredibly popular. Zombie Prom, A Night to Dismember, is very fun, and yes, I love that title. I'll never top that. Our Masquerade Ball is also another really great event. We had to cancel it in February due to the snowstorm that hit that one Friday night, but we're hosting it again next Friday. And we're very excited about that. We have 75 to 90 kids show up for those dances, which is very fun. And we're looking to continue to expand our after-hours programs when Southwest is open to offer movie nights or other things like that at those events because the kids have really been asking for those. Outreach-wise, we have continued to expand our work at local schools, especially at Bloomington High School South, because Claire Spence has made some connections with some of the English teachers there, and then Kate Long has been instrumental in continuing to form those connections at Bachelor and Jackson Creek. And we just last month started a partnership with the Monroe County Youth Council, where Kate Long will be one of the adult advisors with that group, which is run by the Youth Services Bureau and has attended one meeting so far and is trying to attend even more. And we're hoping to host some meetings of that group in the teen spaces as well. And then in 2023, Tiana Pesco and Lindsay Brandon went to the Career Cruise event, which was organized by the Bloomington Success School, which had 573 middle schoolers over the course of the day. They were very tired, but they got to feature the library throughout the event, which was really awesome, and every kid came through and saw that, and they got a chance to talk about the library as a career and a place to work, which is really fun, and it was you don't often get a chance to connect with all the local middle school teens in a single setting, and so we're really hoping we can do that again next year. And then we saw a large number of questions come in 2023 asking for more homeschool service events in teen services. So just last month we started a teen homeschool hangout hour, and we've already seen 8 to 10 kids showing up every time, and we're going to continue that moving forward as we try to increase our outreach to that audience. Ellettsville, Decker Cavosi started in 2023 and has already made a big impact out there and started a lot of new outreach programs and visits with Edgewood High School and Middle School, and then has also started a lot of new program series, really trying to hone in on what teens are interested in at that particular location, such as this Pokemon program series, where it was 5 Pokemon programs in 5 days with 28 participants, which is a wild number. Laura Wise, one of our LAs downtown, helped support that program by, I think, 3D printing 20 different Pokemon miniatures and sending them over to be used for a miniature painting program, which was really fun, and also just little prizes, which was a very cool event. And then at Southwest, the whole time they've been open, we've been in close collaboration with them to help support the work that they're doing because Bachelor is so close. And we've helped by sending supplies, ideas, trainings, things like that. And we've really worked to try to find a home for them here downtown. And I think I have somebody from Southwest almost every day working in the downtown teen space, helping with programs, staffing the desk, going on outreach visits, helping organize the different things, because we've gotten a bunch of Lego donations recently, so we're going through a bunch of that to try to figure out how to use those. But it's been great to have them here because we've been able to form much closer connections with all of them, but also to really hit training needs, questions, plan out what we're going to do when they reopen and how we can best support them. But also it's just nice to see them because we worked with them for so long, and then they're at Southwest and you don't get to spend time with your coworkers as much. And then patron feedback, we did a miniature version of the strategic plan just for teen services, but we surveyed all of our teens that would fill out a paper survey. We gave them a piece of candy if they did. That's the only reason they filled out the survey, but it worked. We had 94 responses across all 3 locations in all of our outreach visits, and that really has already impacted a bunch of the work that we're doing in 2024. And I just wanted to highlight these particular anecdotes because this is really great to see, especially the moments where 64% marked that they liked the physical collection. It was something they noticed about their space. 75% of our kids use the teen spaces almost every day. 95% use it as a place to hang out, and 54% to hang out and de-stress after school, which means we're doing something right because that's what we want to be providing. And then 40% marked that they use the library as a place to read or get book recommendations. 37% said to attend programs, which means that they're actually reading the marketing materials we're sending out, and then we're providing stuff that they're interested in. And then when asked what they liked most about their teen spaces, 67% said the staff. And so that is really what matters, because if we aren't people that they're excited to see and be around, they just won't come to the space. So I'm just very, very glad that that is working and that we're hiring and retaining people that are excited to work with kids and that they're experiencing that every day when they come in. And that's it. Thank you. Questions? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sam, to you and your amazing team for all the wonderful things you're doing for our teens and the community. Okay. We have now reached the portion of our meeting for public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to step forward and address the board? Anybody on Zoom? No? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.